Okay, I think the time is now, and let me kick this off. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the next session of Sitecore User Group Jaipur. And in today's user group meetup, we have two folks from Sitecore. I would like to introduce first Katrina, that is solution architect at Sitecore, and uh, Christine, technical solution architect at Sitecore, to present about their experience with Content Hub 1 for their user group website. So I'm going to hand over this session to them, and I think you can start now.
Okay, so you should be able to see the slides now.
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Great. And then Christian can start.
Now I can start. So great. Okay. Yeah. Then let me also welcome you all here at the user group. It's great to be here and to speak about our experiences with Content Hub One. And as usual, we would like to make it in a way that you gain some key takeaways, that you really see what we did and really can imagine or take with you some key takeaways and really have some benefit from that session. Let's talk like that. And one of the two, I would say, major benefits you or key takeaways you should have is if you did not work with Content Hub One, which might be the case, you will see a website live and in action with all of the hurdles, with all of the challenges, but also the good things. Second thing is, of course, the first-hand learning. So whatever we experience, we will also give to you. So with the intention you do not have the same issues, or you get an understanding of how Content Hub One really works and how that is structured and how it is also working from a content point of view, from a delivery and all that. But before we start really diving into Content Hub One, we would like to spend a word or two on us and on our user group website and on our user group, just to give you an idea who we are. First of all, with me, Katharina Luger, Sitecore solution architect, as mentioned, does now Sitecore for quite a few years, previously on agency side as partner side. Now I took her with me to Sitecore, and she's now working as solution architect in services. And together with her, I'm here as technical solution architect in sales engineering, with around 10 years of experience with the Sitecore technology. And now handing over to my favorite colleague, Katharina.
Thanks. And so I'm really happy to be here. And with us together were two other user group colleagues doing the development, and that is Anna Bründel. She's a solution architect at EPAM, and Tobias Demski, who is a software engineer at Netzkern McCaw. And us four were the development team of the website. Yeah, you will see later the website isn't that big, so usually you won't need that big of a group to develop a project like that. But all of us wanted to get our hands dirty on the product, so we came together and did it in this group. And then a few words on the German user group. So we are a registered association in Germany since 2017, meaning we are officially registered and we pay taxes. We do regular meetups in person around 3 to 4 times per year. And we initiated the Sitecore Launch Europe. We talked about that a few minutes before all of you joined. It's the Sitecore Launch you maybe know from the American colleagues, but in a European time zone. which works for us and would also work for you as well. It's every second Friday at 1 p.m. European time, so it should be 4:30 your time. And you can ask your user group organizers. They have all the details on that if you're interested to join. The user group Germany has, as of today, 21 regular members. About a third of that are individual members, so single persons, and the other 2/3 are companies, partners or customers. And the last few years we had 46 different speakers doing 68 different presentations in 18 events and 14 different cities. So we always rotate through all of Germany doing our meetups in different cities. So the travel part is distributed through all the members so that we are not only doing the meetups on one place and those who live far away have to travel far all the time, but we try to move through all of Germany. And then on the status quo, so what was there? Where did we come from? We had a website before we did the relaunch, but it was hosted on WordPress was done in WordPress in a VM. And it was quite old, legacy technology with outdated versions. Not sure if any one of you worked with WordPress before, with the old versions of WordPress, so the editing experience wasn't really that good. And of course, it was no Sitecore technology. Well, sounds like a solid foundation for a website for a Sitecore user group, doesn't it? It also looked like you would do a website 7 years ago, I would say, or 5 years, 6 years, whatever. It was okay, it did the job, but it wasn't great. So what did we want? We wanted a state-of-the-art technology stack and maybe even a Sitecore tech stack. So we sat together and discussed on what could be possible or what we could do to improve this whole experience. And this is what we came up with. So we thought that Next.js is the next big thing in the front-end framework area, so we wanted to do that. As we are all backend developers, or we all came from the backend development part of our business, we decided it would be smart to use a UI framework as well. We chose Chakra UI. Of course, with Next.js comes hosting on Vercel. And also for, while we are all here, we chose Content Hub 1 because it made the most sense. It's a really small headless CMS doing exactly what we want, deliver content. And with Content Hub 1 comes Experience Edge and GraphQL, of course, for the front-end part. For the mailing tool, we stayed with MailChimp because it just works and we didn't want to put a lot of effort in migrating this as well. So the focus will be on the website part with Content Hub 1 and the front end. As probably most of you don't have any experience yet with Content Hub 1, we brought some explanation slides with us. And with that, I will hand over to Christian.
Yes, and as you heard, I'm working in sales engineering, so my daily business is to explain to customers as well as partners our product portfolio, and of course the differences, because you all know we have headless CMS and headless CMS, and what kind of headless CMS is now Content Hub 1 in comparison to XM Cloud, and I can imagine that causes some confusion. And really on a high level, let's try to solve that confusion. Starting with XM Cloud, our flagship, I would say. It's an enterprise-grade content management system focusing on creating content, delivering content via Experience Edge. It's based on the famous XMXP technology stack, which is there for years over years. So basically, an XM Cloud is an XM ported to the cloud. So if you already know XM Cloud is really not that much new technology for you. I would say key stats is content management with WYSIWYG, the visual authoring experience, as well as embedded analytics and embedded personalization. As a package, that's XM Cloud. In comparison to that, and that's what we are talking today about, is Content Hub One. As the name already states out, it's based on Content Hub technology. And it's the closest you can compare it is with Content Hub PCM module from the older days, I would say, the product, the CMP. So the CMP module, the content management module of the Content Hub. And the Content Hub One really is a lightweight way of delivering content. It focuses on an intuitive, lightweight way of managing content, delivering content, again, via Edge, but without any kind of layout information. So you just create content and deliver it completely just plain raw content to Experience Edge, and then the head application is responsible for putting in some layout information, as well as there's no personalization, no analytics, really a lightweight way of having a headless CMS like our competitors quite often do it. Content Hub One is more or less the answer of that. And a big thing is XM Cloud is not Content Hub One, and it's not comparable. There are two different products which purpose or have a completely different purpose. So XM Cloud has its own target, its own audiences, as well as Content Hub One has its own audience. And of course, today we are talking about Content Hub One because our website is based on Content Hub One because of exactly those facts. It's the lightweight one single page application which perfectly fits to Content Hub One use cases. But before we dive into the Content Hub One use cases on our website, I would like to spend 2 or 3 slides on what is Content Hub One in a nutshell, really high level. It's a SaaS application, as you know, with which you can easily create content types as blueprints. So same as with templates in XM, you can create content types and then you can create content out of those content types. Quite easy, quite fast, with an intuitive interface. So you can model any kind of data type with the existing fields you will see later on. So there are single line text, multi-line, date, integer, references, all that is available in Content Hub One, and you can create very easily any kind of content types and then content elements. And of course, because it's completely independent from the delivering layer, you can really quickly create content and deliver it to really any kind of channel. And that's a huge benefit of Content Hub One. You do not really need to know about Content Hub One to deliver content via Content Hub One, because the only thing you have to know is GraphQL, because it delivers via GraphQL, but you can completely work isolated. So the manager, marketer, and the content editor can work on the Content Hub One side, creating content, and on the other side, the developer can create any kind of layout information, the head application, in the way he or she wants to have it. So the only restriction is it has to understand GraphQL with, or what I would assume every modern technology understands GraphQL. So you can build sites based on Next.js, React, Angular, Vue. You can embed it into MVC. You can embed it into a smartwatch, into an Android app. It doesn't matter. Partially, I also did that in some POCs, and it worked pretty well. So I can tell you it works quite well to deliver content in an easy way, really omni-channel. And on top of all that, you already might know from XM, we deliver everything via Experience Edge over GraphQL queries. And all that is really, really fast when it comes to caching, CDN, and delivering to any kind of channel anywhere in the world. That's enough for the high-level overview. Let's also see a little bit the APIs and what you can do with Content Hub One, and let's also focus on what we did with Content Hub One. So in the middle, we have our content repository with which we worked. Of course, it's a SaaS application. We created and managed content. One thing we did was, of course, we created a site which previews the content before it goes live, so we can ensure everything is fine, content looks good, so we can publish. Second thing is, of course, once we have published to Experience Edge, we grabbed our content from Experience Edge, and luckily, preview and delivery APIs are mirrored, so we didn't have to change any line of code. So because GraphQL API and endpoint and all that is mirrored, it was accessible exactly the same way. Just the endpoint is different, and of course the API key is different, but the rest stays completely the same. So we have in the end one app. You will see that in Vercel, but with two domains, one for the preview, one for the live access. And just one note for the future. In the future, we also plan to get hands on these SDK, CLI, and content management API, just to try it out to see what is possible with that, because we have such an easy use case. We can easily also try out new things, experiment a little bit with Content Hub One and all that technology. Then our approach. So enough for theory. Let's also talk about our website and our approach. And our approach was quite easy. Most of us did not really know what Content Hub One is, or didn't work with that in advance. So we had to find out what is Content Hub capable of doing and what are our requirements. And luckily, our requirements were quite easy, I would say. So we didn't have that much of fancy requirements because we just had a single page application. As you saw earlier, it has quite a few modules, a newsletter registration, some key facts, some notes about events, and all that just had to be migrated to Content Hub One. And the result you can already see here on the left-hand side. It is our new website, and we will see later on in a little bit more detail our website. But just let me explain a little bit the structure of the website, and later on go into details. What does it mean for Content Hub One? So the website basically is structured around events. Of course, a user group mostly has events, and of course, we want to promote events. We want to let the community know about events, new events, what happens. So everything is about event and teasering those events. Of course, we would also, or wanted also, to promote our user group. For that, we had something called key stats module, nothing more like, technically spoken, an icon text teaser with multiple icon text teaser elements. Really a basic module, I would say, and you will see later on how that was done in Content Hub One and what we did there. The facts module, as you heard earlier, we have so many speakers in so many locations with so many events. All that is taken mostly by Content Hub One and then calculated in real time with some nice effect on top. But there we can already see we can grab content from Content Hub One and mix it up with some nice effects on the head side of things. Next thing, newsletter registration. That's our legacy part of application. That's MailChimp still. Currently, we are considering using Sitecore Send, but that's just a consideration because it would make sense, but we are also happy with MailChimp. So we will see what the future brings. But in this place, we have a newsletter registration which has an API calls to MailChimp to do the real registration for our newsletter. Some document download module is a special one. You will see later on why it is special, but you can already imagine here with some annotations, because there is already a limitation in Content Hub One, which will be removed quite soon, but today it is not removed, but I will explain in more detail later on. And last but not least, a pure front-end module, has nothing to do with Content Hub One. We just thought it's nice to have a real Twitter feed or real-time Twitter feed to see what's happening on events. With that said, going down into the module level or into the module level, seeing how everything is connected. What you can see is on the left-hand side, still the page. On the right-hand side, we see an extraction of Content Hub 1. And as mentioned, everything is around events and how events are managed and structured. And as you can see, it's a blueprint, it's a content type event with all the basic information like event title, description, city streets, or where it takes place, as well as the date, some event image, and the special thing, the agenda. And the agenda itself is like, okay, we have an introduction, we have a talk of person X and a talk of person Y and Z. And that is again linked to some persons, some slots, and so on and so forth. So you can already see, but you will see in a second even better, that we can refer to other content elements within Content Hub 1 to build complex content models. Now, bringing that content model to the front end, what did we use? So we simply use that GraphQL query. As mentioned, everything is GraphQL. So in the end, if you publish that element, like an event in, where was it, in Frankfurt, if we create that element and publish it to Edge, that query was enough to push data from the Edge or pull data from the Edge to the head. And just one limitation, GraphQL was really not capable of dealing with complex queries in the manner of, please give me all the events which are in the future or sort them in a very specific way. Therefore, we decided to just stick to a simple GraphQL query and do the remaining calculation in the head application on build time, because everything on our side is statically generated as it is usual in Next.js. So the end user doesn't care about what we do in Graph or Next. Just for the technical people here in the call, we have a simple GraphQL query and some TypeScript magic on top, but this will also change as soon as the GraphQL query is capable of dealing with whatever we need. Then is a little bit more complex model, the key facts. As mentioned, the key fact has a headline, a description, and a list of so-called points. And a point is here mentioned below. It's nothing more like an icon text element. And as you can see here, we have 6 icon text elements bundled in one icon or one key facts module, icon teaser module. And as you can see, the query is still simple. So we are querying a point module with a specific ID, grabbing all the detailed information. And once we are dealing with references, we have GraphQL syntax to have it really on point to grab the icon text teaser information. So you can imagine this can also be done in different ways, that you have different types of references. And in GraphQL, you can define what kind of reference I'm dealing with. And if it's that kind, I'm just want to grab specific information from GraphQL. And luckily, GraphQL is capable of dealing with all that fanciness, I would say. It's compared to REST, it's really, really powerful API with which we can grab content. And last but not least, the download module. Again, download module is the same. It is a module with download elements, but one special thing, or in the end, 2 special things. The first thing is we had to save PDFs. Because of legal reasons, we had to upload some PDF files. Someone can download and see all the general information about the user group. Because we are a registered association, we are obligated to upload such files so everyone can see some really high-level information about the user group. But the key point is Content Hub 1 is at the moment not capable of dealing with PDF files. So it has all kinds of image processing stuff, but not PDF. And because of that, we decided to host our PDFs on Vercel directly and just store the link as single line text field in Content Hub 1. But luckily, let me tease that, Content Hub 1 in the near future will also support PDFs. So we will refactor that kind of logic so that these PDFs also land in Content Hub 1. And the second additional thing is that how we deal with images. So you see we have an image which is from type media, and as you can see, it's exactly the same way in GraphQL how we access referred content like a download link, an icon teaser, text element. We can also specify that these images, these list of images, for example, are of type media. And if they are of type media, we grab all the detailed information to display that media nicely because they are stored on a CDN. We get the CDN link and we can easily display them on the site. So this image on the left is a image of our CDN stored in Experience Edge delivered via Content Hub 1. Then with all that said, just going one step back, from all of these modules, you can assume there was a unified, a common way of how to create a new component in Content Hub 1. And exactly that I would like to share with you. So it's about 7 or 8 steps, individual steps you can keep in mind when creating a new component. First of all, is you create a component type in Content Hub 1. The example is, again, the key points module, which has a headline, a description, and a reference to points. And of course, if there's a reference, please create the content type of that referred element in advance so you can reuse it very easily here. Once you have the content type, you can create content elements. And sorry for the German, but this is a German user group website. Until now, again, the limitation, Content Hub 1 is not capable of dealing with multilingual content. But again, it is on the roadmap. It will be published quite soon. But just for this presentation, all the texts are in German. And if wished, I can translate on the fly if there are later on some things which need to be understood. But basically creates a content element, creates some either way test element or the real element of the content type, because next step, go to the playground. Luckily, as well as in XM, we have a playground with which we can play around either way with preview or delivery API to create our GraphQL queries and see the output. So we can really build everything exactly the way the head application builds it, because next step, we take over the GraphQL query, and the head application really does nothing more like querying the same way like the playground queries and getting back the same information. So you can, in the playground, see that everything works, take it over to the to the head application and let it run there with one thing, the GraphQL query. But second thing is the endpoint, really, it's simple, a GraphQL endpoint with some really basic extensions. So this is all of our endpoint querying mechanism, which just has the information, what is the endpoint, what is the GraphQL token, and whatever, and it takes the query and fires the query against whatever endpoint we define. And the result is pretty simple. We get a JSON back. And because we are backend developer, we really like strongly typed models. And because of that, we decided to not use the anonymous TypeScript stuff, but we wanted to have it really strongly typed in models. So we have some parsing mechanisms, which passes the JSON into a model and has some fallback mechanisms. If some fields are not filled, we can define fallbacks and so on and so forth. So quite easy to use. And once we had all that, so we grab content, we parse the content, we were able to use this Next.js out-of-the-box mechanism like get static props to really generate the sites on build time. So as you can see, all the models or the modules which are on the start page, you can see here on the static props, we are grabbing the module, we are passing the models into strongly typed models, and then pushing it via static site generation into the site. One additional side note on that, even though technically that approach is quite okay or fine, which works pretty well, just let me tell you one thing from a license point of view. From a license point of view, that approach is really not a good idea. Why? Because license-wise, we as Sitecore let you pay per calls against Experience Edge and per calls against some content repository, which means if someone calls the start page, we do not have one GraphQL call. We have, as you can see, 6 or 7 GraphQL calls, individual ones, which count as individual calls against GraphQL, which is really in the end not a good idea, because if you or the customer pays for calls against GraphQL, you should limit the calls against GraphQL. So from a license point of view, a better approach would be to have some kind of page template and refer all the modules on a page on that page template and just query that page element. And because of that query, you have one query per page call. And inside that query, you have all the modules like the events, upcoming events, key points, stats, and all that. From a license point of view, that would be a better approach. And as you will see out there in some example implementations, for example, from Sebastian Winter, from technical marketing and all the other people like Eski and Hande, you will see examples with exactly that approach because it's best practice to have one call which holds all the information if possible, instead of like we did many individual calls per component, even though it's technically no problem. Just as a side note that you're aware of that. I would not say limitation, but aware of that fact. Last but not least, if you have your model, and it doesn't matter if you grab it this way or that way, you see we have our TSX, our component files with some Chakra UI magic. That's what Katharina mentioned earlier. We were backend developer, we are backend developer. And Chakra UI is really easy to use to create outstanding visual experiences. And that's the only reason why we chose Chakra. You could also choose Tailwind or any kind of other framework. I would say pretty easy, right? So compared to XM, where you have to learn JSS, where or two queries, which you test out and see the result, and you can grab the result with any kind of technology because it's simple content. It's no layout information, no placeholders, no components, nothing. It's simply pure raw content. And that makes it really easy and fast to use. Coming now from the theory part and what you saw to the practical part. And again, I will hand over to Katharina to show you a little bit about the user group website.
Yeah. So if you're fast, there's a QR code with the link, but it's all in German, as Christian already mentioned. So just if you want to take a look at it, but I will demo anyhow. So this is our website as it is right now. We don't have any upcoming events yet at the moment, so there is no event teaser at the top, but only the key facts module, the numbers, the statistics, the email registration, downloads, Twitter feed. And that was actually last week where we met. And yeah, that's it. We also have a light and dark mode switch. And that's mainly it. I can also show the event detail page. This is a past event, like I mentioned last week in Frankfurt. We put the agenda on the website with the speakers. I think here are some images, Sebastian. So this is the agenda component with speakers, and here the event details, Google Maps link, all information you would need for the event. So let's take a look at the back end. So this is Content Hub 1. When you log in, you will see this start screen. You have some quick links here, a quick guide for the integration, some last updated component. This page will also, so this page is managed by Sitecore. It's part of the SaaS offering. So it can be that it changes, that product team decides to change content on this page. And they try to make it as efficient as possible for all the users of Content Hub 1. Then at the top, you can see the menu. It's not that full. It only has the content types, content, media, and some integration like API keys and authentication clients. And in the end, that's it. You don't need anything more. Let's take a look at the content types. You already saw the key points that Christian showed you. Can take a look into this. So this is just a short text field. This is a rich text field. This is a reference field. You can also set some data settings like that it's required, some display options, which is the help text. You can add a new field. You can choose from different field types. These are all there are at the moment, but as it's a SaaS product, it will be developed ongoing. So it could happen that you log in and there's suddenly a new type there. You can also get a JSON preview if that helps you for your front-end implementation of all the fields you have on the component. And yeah, maybe take a look at events as well. This one is a bit bigger. And here you have the reference to agenda, some other fields, image field. But in the end, they all look quite the same. They don't have that many options to set. So it's all quite clean and easy to use and easy to understand. And then you can take a look at the content part, where the actual content is. You have some filtering options here on the type, so like the template, and also the status if it's published or in draft mode. Maybe let's take a look here. So this is our speaker template, Sebastian Winter with his image. And you saw on the website here, it's his image. And it was changed a few weeks ago, actually, a few days ago, because Sebastian sent us his image so that we could update his speaker information on the website. So we just uploaded the image. You can also just choose the media here. And I'm not sure. I thought it would be possible already to upload an image directly from this dialog, but I see it's not. But they're working on it, so I already saw that it will be possible in a few weeks. So this is the media part. You can upload any assets, and you have them here, and then publish, put in a description, a name, and then use them in your content. But at the moment, only those 4 types are possible. But as Christian mentioned, soon there will be more types available as well. Yes, it's the same update for the creation dialog and the media types. So in the end, this is all there is. So maybe we can try to create a new content just to show you how it looks like. So this would be a new event. I need to put in a title because it's required. I can add an image of the city the event is. I can, here it works. I can either search for a record for the agenda or create a new record, create a new agenda slot, and put in some more information. And here you can also see the help text. The event sign up link is always like a Meetup sign up link or anything else. Okay, are there any questions on this? I don't think so. I think Christian is answering all the questions.
Yes, together with Anna. So thanks, Anna. So we
Hi,
try
Anna.
to answer. We try to answer all the questions. So that's totally fine. And I guess we can go on with the next part, right?
Okay, then it's your turn again to show the Vercel part.
Yes, of course. So last but not least, Vercel part might be a little bit interesting. We are hosting on Vercel, which is, I would say, from a Sitecore point of view, quite common. We always say we have a strategic partnership with Vercel as Sitecore, so it's quite easy, yeah, to host things on Vercel, but not only because of the partnership, because Vercel is quite nice SaaS hosting provider. And the same we did now with user group website. We have a pro account because it's a production and live site. Inside that account, we host our website, and let me show you just one or two things in regards of the preview and live API. We have different domains. As you can see, we have a lot of domain mappings out here, which we got from our previous hoster. But the nice thing or the interesting thing is that we have here our preview SAC.de website URL. And that's exactly the URL with which we could now preview and see the content, because we have a branch, a GitHub branch called preview. And with that branch and with that URL, together with the last piece, with our environment variables, we are able to differentiate between live, delivery, and preview stuff. So as you can see, we have environment variables in Vercel. Some of them are duplicated just because of the reason we have production and preview and development. And behind the scenes, we are just grabbing content from another endpoint. And as mentioned before, GraphQL endpoints from delivery and preview are mirrored. So it doesn't matter for our code from where the content comes from. We can simply say one is pointing to the preview, so directly to our Content Hub instance with our tenant, and one is pointing to Edge to our with a specific API key to grab the deliver, so the published, the delivered content. And exactly that, with the domain, with the branch, and with our environment variables, we are able in Vercel to differentiate between all of our use cases, which is quite nice. And I really love to work with Vercel, not only because it's our strategic partner, but it's really simple to spin up new sites and to try out things in a SaaS manner of doing things. Going back to the presentation, I guess you know better where your presentation is, Katharina.
You think?
Hopefully.
Yeah, okay. Then if there are no more questions, I saw your question on personalization, but maybe Christian can answer that, or we will answer that, or Anna already did. Okay, so let's continue on the learnings and challenges. So we had some general project learnings. I guess they are true for every project, but I wanted to mention them again because we also fell into those. So it's nice to talk about that again. So be clear on a design in the beginning and define the global styling. It helps when you build new components that you all know what the design looks like and how the component should be styled. Otherwise, you need to retouch every component over and over again. Standardize your dev setup. We all came from being backend Sitecore developers, so we had all the settings already in our Visual Studio, but most of us didn't have the setup in Visual Studio Code, which we used for the front-end part. And it helps if everybody has the same linting settings set and all the other stuff. Otherwise, you will get all the merge conflicts all the time that you don't need. Use it, have a ticketing system and use it and keep it up to date. Otherwise, it could possibly happen that two people work on the same thing at the same time without them knowing, because none of them looked into the tickets or updated the tickets. So yeah, have one and use it. And as I mentioned it a bit in the beginning, the more people that are involved, the harder communication gets. And I think it's even more true for simple projects because everyone thinks, yeah, it's not that complex. It's really simple. I know what I'm doing, but if you have more than 2 people, or if you have more than 1 person, you need to communicate and talk to each other and be clear on who is doing what and why and where the road is going. And the more people you have, the more communication you need to align. We also had a few product learnings, of course. A few positive, actually. So it's really, really fast to set up, and the implementation is really simple, and it's easy to use. So we were really fast in putting our first content into Content Hub 1, in querying from the front end and actually seeing something on the website. And as we all came from XP development, in XP, it really takes a long time to set the whole thing up, to create templates and renderings and placeholders, and you know it, and integrate the front end as well. And here it was really, really fast and simple. And the backend is easy to use and easy to, you don't really need to explain it, actually. It's, you log in and you know what to do. The only drawback was there are some limits in the features, in the feature set, but it's still a new product. It's still in development. And sorry, I thought there was another slide. It's still in development, and the features that are needed or that we were missing are on the roadmap, and they are coming in the next weeks or months. So we were one of the early adopters. So of course there are limits, or there were limits, and we were aware of that. So it's just good to mention it, I think. Maybe a bit more on the actual challenges we faced. So the first challenge we had was defining the content model. But in the end, that's just like a learning curve. So when you come from XP development, you just need to change your thinking to just working with content, like you have in Content Hub. And that needs some getting used to, but it's nothing that the product is failing in, but it's just like the thinking that we need to change here, and which will also actually help us, I think, to focus more on the content and not only on the presentation part you also have in XP. We also had some issues with missing documentation, but the documentation is quite enhanced now and describes all the features that are available at the moment. So this was really just this early adopters, early access issue we had. And then we had 3 other topics that actually are all on the roadmap at the moment. So the authoring flow wasn't that smooth. You saw earlier in the demo with the media items. So you need to first upload the media item and then go into the content to use it. They are working on that. So this is actually really high on the roadmap to simplify the authoring flow and to remove additional clicks that you actually wouldn't need. I also mentioned limited functionality in content modeling. Some types are still missing, like, for example, drop-downs or taxonomy types. There are no standard values, stuff like that. So this is all on the roadmap. And this is actually what I wanted to highlight here. So Content Hub 1 is still in the MVP phase. So they focused on the most important features and focused on speed and usability for the go live for the first version. And the product team is very responsive to feedback. They are happy on all the feedback, and they have a really fast implementation time. So I think we gave feedback in March or February even, and 3-4 weeks later, some of our feedback was already in the product on the live system. So they have a release cycle of around 2 weeks, and they really prioritize stuff. If you have a high need of that, if a customer comes and says they really need that, they put pressure on it, and then it will be implemented as soon as possible. Okay, I actually don't see the chat at the moment, but I think Christian is on it.
Yes.
I do have one slide on the next steps for our website. So we had some more plans what to tackle in the future. We wanted to put in maybe some content search, an event calendar, image upload for events, the Instagram feed, connect the Meetup API for the event registration, put in some social media share options, and recreate the contact form that's missing at the moment. And maybe some other nice stuff, trying out all the new features of Content Hub 1 that came in the last few weeks or months since SACON. So stay tuned. We will update the website with new features. And I think that was it. And now we're open to questions.
I think you have covered almost all of the questions. There is one question that is by Ritesh. That is, how is Sitecore Content Hub 1 differ from other headless CMS like Contentful?
I can start trying to answer that. So unfortunately, I have not that deep knowledge about other headless CMSs. I only know roughly, and I'm pretty sure Content Hub 1 is just released not that long ago. So therefore, we know there are missing features. Let's face it, multilingual capabilities are important for many customers, and if they are not there, Content Hub 1 is not a competitor to other of the usual candidates for headless CMSs. Therefore, I would say Content Hub 1 is a really nice alternative to other headless CMSs and an extension to the already existing tech stack of Sitecore, because it fills a missing gap, because XM Cloud is that big and not sufficient for many customers. But Content Hub 1 is that tiny little lightweight CMS on a Sitecore tech stack, which might fill that gap. But to be honest, we are not there to compete against the most popular headless CMSs, but we are on a very good way to go there to really be competitive to all of these. But not on a feature level. I have no idea. Maybe Katharina, you know better, but I have not an idea on that individual feature level.
Okay. I don't see any other question in the chat. So I think we are good to wrap it up. So thanks, Katrina and Christian, for this wonderful session and sharing your experience with us. I can see both of you are very active on Sitecore community, mainly on Slack, and this is really great for us to connect with you in case of anything related with Content Hub 1. We'll get in touch with you over there. And thanks again, everyone, for joining this session, and have a great day.
Thank you too for having us, and
Thank you.
hope to see you again soon.
Sure,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye,
Okay.
bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.